Hope everyone is doing well. Just trying to get on the live stream right here. Alright, so I should have made this video a lot sooner, but I've been giving you some hints about it over the last 2 years or so. And this is a video that I know it's kind of depressing, but I'm pretty optimistic in the longer term ahead. And that is about the jabs. And I'm not going to go further in depth because I think YouTube is still censoring us. They're pushing us around. However, I think you guys know what I'm talking about. Despite all their efforts, the truth has not been fully prevented in getting out there. We're starting to see a lot of negative effects of the shots. And there have been documentaries, there's been increasing numbers of articles about died suddenly from various different types of people who were healthy just a while back ago and they're poof and they're gone. What's really shocking, by the way, is men around my age are being disproportionately affected, which you can argue there's some upsides and downsides to it. I guess the upside is that I have less male competitors. I think you know what that means. I'm not going to get into it. However, let's just have a little recap of the last 2 years. And this is following the fact that I confronted those two legislatures in that supposed town hall meeting, Selena Torres and Edgar Flores. And that is the fact that it's been almost 3 years now. They locked us down, which I was thinking, why would they do that? Because we had other viruses come to this country and around the world. They weren't doing this kind of nonsense. Not to mention, we really saw the true colors of how everything is. Then they told us 6 feet apart. Then they told us we have to mask up, which is kind of irrelevant because it's better to stay home than to mask up. And they had all these people coming together. Remember the riots? They said, we have to defund the police. We have to let these cities burn. Everything is peaceful. Even though you can see how they treated all the other protests, like what happened on January 6th. And even though they were not 6 feet apart, you can see the double standard. You can see how they used the police against people like me. Then, later on, they decided, okay, if you get vaccinated and you get double booster, triple booster, whatever, everything's going to be fine. You don't need to wear masks. And then you have to put the mask on again. Then you have to do the lockdowns, just one after another. Then after all of that, yet somehow in February, March of this year, all they were just listed. They were just magically gone. And it makes you think, well, what happened? Well, for one obvious thing, it seemed like a lot of us, we were resisting. We were not buying into it. And they had to, of course, distract us with the other issue, which was Ukraine. Because all of a sudden, March 2020 came along, gasoline prices shoot, and then basically we were focused on other things. But the heart of the issue is that despite the fact, I know they're promoting this, and I know rumors that they're trying to bring the lockdowns again, but I don't think people are going to buy into it because people were really not following in the last few months of 2021 into 2022. Is that they're still promoting the vaccine, however, not as much. But remember, more importantly, whether it talks about the corporations, the NGOs, and more importantly, the politicians who promoted it or failed to speak out, they haven't told us effectively whether they worked or not. Because this is the red flag to show you that what they've done is pretty suspicious. I'm highly skeptical. And it raises a lot of concerns. And somehow they just want us to move on. They're talking about an amnesty. They just believe that, okay, we can just, go back to the regular business of what we were doing in 2019. But no, people are not buying into it. People have a lot of sour memories. A lot of us have been hurt economically, and we're still feeling the pain because the evictions are being removed. We're seeing that the spending from the stimulus and everything is wanting off. I mean, they just did a report that A lot of things about the Vegas economy is not looking very, very good. Somehow we're seeing the escalations of all these died suddenly cases. Now, what do you think this really is? Because now the death rates, believe it or not, is higher than what it was in 21 and especially 2020. And not to mention the birth rates are collapsing. So what's going on? Now, they don't want to talk about it, and when you ask them, they just walk away. But they know that their system is in serious, serious trouble. Therefore, we can make an assumption that there's going to be a lot of dramatic things coming, in this, not just in the several months, but in several years and possibly decades ahead. I mean, we could be talking about a mass shakeup in population levels that this world has never, ever actually even seen. A lot of things are just going to unfold. And do you really think people are just going to move on? Not just from all the economic pain, because look at me. It's not just I have to pay higher prices for things. We've disrupted supply chains, all the spending, you name it. But also the fact that, well, some of us have not done very well in the stock market. We've lost our businesses. We've lost our jobs. More importantly, increasing number of people have seen their family members just pass away. And they're going to wonder what happened. And I think a lot of these people are going to organize. And this is going to deliver a lot of heat. Now, I think many of you who've watched and viewed this channel, you've basically seen how I've confronted a lot of the politicians. Well, this isn't going to go away, folks. I think this is going to escalate. I think you're going to see more protests, more lawsuits, more confrontations. A lot of things are going to unfold. And it's not just the politicians in Washington or around the world. I think a lot of things are going to be done locally, because it's not just, okay, the IMF, the UN, the current president, the Congress, and everybody, because remember, they've been pushing this vaccine, they've been encouraging us, they've been letting things be. It's essentially here in the state and local level. And again, this is not, and even if you think that all these vaccine things and all these jab things were perfectly fine and nothing really happened, well, we also have other elements that are going to increase. We're seeing the real estate market and other bubbles begin to burst. Because remember, Vegas has not fully learned from the last crisis. We're seeing technology begin to affect a lot of things in society. So a lot of the status quo lifestyles are going to be threatened. But going back to the state, folks, when you look at Aaron Ford, when you look at Steve Sisolak, and they were pushing the lockdowns, they were pushing the mandates, and not to mention many of their casino donors. And remember, we had Jim Murren. I just saw him at the rally with Masto. They were profiting from the pandemic. They put them in the COVID task force. He resigned in a month before the lockdowns. This explains everything you need to know. And when these debts are going to accelerate, and not to mention, Sisolak has a lot of scandals with Route 91. When you look at how he got arrested with a DUI and he got away with it, I mean, just the list goes on. This is going to really pile hard on them. Now, I think I know some of the election results. I still haven't looked into it. I don't want to know, and please don't post about what happened. Even though some of them are about to leave very soon, they're not going to go away. And not to mention the new ones that are coming in, don't think they're exempt either, because they were pushing this very, very well. And let's not forget the legislature, how they changed the laws during the special session, how they were letting this happen. They were pushing the vaccines. When these debts are going to pile up, which could be, and I think right now it's already in the tens of thousands, it could be in the hundreds of thousands, these people are not going to get away with it. They're going to be sued. There's going to be marches. There's going to be a lot of angry people. People like me, in comparison, are going to be pretty chill. We're going to be like crickets. And I'm going to get to that issue about immigration. Absolutely. But let's not forget We go down to the school district level. You saw me how they were pushing this jab among the employees. Let's talk about the county commissioners, how they treated my friends, telling us to mask up. They threw one of my buddies out of that room like that, Mac Miller. They were so picky about the masks and everything. It was just complete, utter crap. And they still haven't told us this was all effective. We know Justin Jones was constantly pushing the vaccine. So what's going to happen, folks, when the illnesses and the deaths are going to accelerate? They're not going to be able to get away with this. And there's going to be hundreds and thousands of people marching to these government buildings, to these events, to these meetings. They're not going to be able to even be seen in public. We're going to see a lot of arrests. We're going to see a lot of resignations. We're going to see a lot of prosecutions. And they're going to try to put their substitutes or whatever in. No, it's not going to work. Remember, there were protests in front of their homes not too long ago. Now, not all of them were pushing this. There was Michelle Fiore, especially at the local level. Carolyn Goodman was saying not to lock down. Remember how they roasted her? I think some of them may end up becoming heroic. Think about it. But it's not just at the government level. You look at the casinos. Many casinos were closing down their casinos before the mandates. They were pushing the mask mandates. They were pushing their employees to get jabbed, and now we're seeing the disastrous effects of it. Yeah, the masking, everything that's going on. Let's not forget these identity politics-based organizations like PLAN and the ACLU and the ADL, and especially the phony labor unions that are in bed with these casinos like Culinary, pushing all these lockdowns, how their employees went out of work. Many of them couldn't get unemployment insurance. They were jabbed, and now they're getting all the effects. All these people are just passing away suddenly. Folks, there's going to be a lot of accountability. This dumb crap union that threatened to sue me, that blocked me in many of their platforms, one of their legislatures made phony accusations about me, and they sent authorities to my house. They're all going to be gone. They can't even operation themselves. It's absolutely disgusting. All the restrictions, all the stay at home, limited capacity. It was just, what was this all about? There's going to be a lot of resignations. And last but not least, this dumb crap media, which refuses to report the issues I've been talking about, the local news, the Sun, all these other news outlets, they're going to be in trouble. Nobody's going to believe them anymore. This is going to be a serious, utter disaster very soon. I don't think they're going to all be around. Which is to say, folks, remember, social media, including this platform, were censoring people. And this is going to have a huge trickle-down effect. Now, I know there's been recent changes to Twitter, but these people who are engaging in this nonsense, they're not going to go away. But it's not just law and order, folks. And that, of course, they were defunding the police and all this other BS. But what about the economy? Folks, Vegas, despite its business climate, it's not going to do well economically. We're likely going to be on the path of Detroit. If a lot of these people are going to pass away, along with family members are too hurt to do anything, who do you think is going to come here? We had all these pilots that were jabbed. Are they going to even be around to bring the tourists here? I mean, I'm not too far from the airport right now. I hear a lot of planes. You're not going to see a lot of planes landing here anymore. This is going to be an utter disaster. I don't even know it's going to be safe to be on the plane. Yet alone, because who knows, a pilot may have some reaction or spike protein, and God forbid, I'm not going to be able to make it. Think about it. And I think the prices of these airline tickets are going to skyrocket because we're going to have a shortage of prices. And speaking of pilots, folks, Do you really think all this gouging of parking fees, resort fees, of food, beverage, hotel room rates, the list goes on, and all this lower quality service, negligent security, all this BS politics, drama that you see in those hotels? I mean, look, Planet Hollywood, Miracle Mile, their parking used to be free a couple of years ago. Then they wanted to charge you $23 for 1 hour, I think, and they have no pass for locals or anything else. It's ridiculous, folks. Maybe it's free for visitors, I'm not sure. It's absolutely out of their mind. Do you really think with all these visitors they're not going to be there? Who's going to be parking? They're going to be empty. It's going to be a joke. In fact, when they reopened after all the lockdowns, they had to actually temporarily make their parking for free. Who's going to be going to the stadiums? I don't even think people are going to want to even go to these sporting events anymore because all these sports organizations were promoting all this BS nonsense. And that's another problem, folks, because sports and celebrities were distracting us from reality, from the truth. And the reason why a lot of people didn't believe this, it wasn't just, oh, we were just a bunch of Trump supporters. No, it was because the same media that lied to us about 9/11, about every other issue, about the Iraq War, about the financial crisis, about every other issue, the list goes on, about race, they lied to us about this whole COVID thing. We weren't buying into it. Heck, I've barely been watching any television for the last 10, 15 years. TV is not what it used to be, folks. At least back then, you had some decent shows like Seinfeld and, I don't know, Frasier, that weren't as manipulated as they are today. But look at it now. It's not worth it. I haven't been really paying attention to a lot of the news. I've been kind of even toning down on BitChute. It's just, look, folks, this is going to be some serious problem. Now, as far as supply chain issues is concerned, we probably may not have enough workers for certain sectors. Now, as far as food, look, if we're going to have a declining population and a lot of the rural counties have very low vaccination rates, I think we may even have an oversupply of food. That's going to help us with food prices. And not to mention, housing prices are going to plunge. You're going to have all these jabbed up people in the coast of California, and you're going to have all these empty homes, even out here. So the transition to becoming more like Detroit may be a lot of good things. Maybe we may see home prices here in Vegas, along with these rising interest rates and technologies that are comparable to a price of a car. But I don't know if I really want a Detroit-like society. I'm concerned about crime. I'm concerned about emptiness. I'm concerned about trust. Who knows? Maybe we might have a sense of community. Maybe people will come together. Because that's what happened during the Great Depression. And remember, we didn't learn from the last crisis. All these banker bailouts and all this other nonsense, it continued. The lower interest rates, the credit expansion, the U.S. was still the world's reserve currency, the banks bought up all the foreclosures. They just put a Band-Aid over it and reinflated the bubble. Well, I don't think this is going to happen again. Do you think people are going to let the banks bail out? These rising interest rates are not going to help. And not to mention, we have the rise of these cryptocurrencies or other alternatives. I can't trust them, but I wouldn't be surprised if they start taking over. And let's not forget the other main important factor of the Vegas economy, which is construction, which is housing, and a lot of other things. Think about it. When the population's going to start to contract, you really think they're going to be building all those homes? Now, keep in mind, though, that Detroit's still spread outwards. Even though the metro area population, not city, was flat for about 60, 70 years. So I do think Vegas could spread out because people want new products. But I don't think it's going to be as much, folks. We're going to see a lot of empty houses, empty rooms. So maybe the cost of living will go down, but there's going to be a lot of scary things that's going to happen. Yeah, the nation was 90% Euro heritage. Yeah. Well, there's still parts of the country that are like that, of course. I can't even imagine what's going on. And of course, you look at the way the people are nowadays, the way they dress, the way they talk, their family values, their culture, the way they're drug addicted, they're addicted to many different things, video games, they have lack of skills, fast food fattened. I mean, how is this going to work, folks? Religious influence has gone down quite a bit, and I know a lot of you may not like religious, but people who tend to be more religious seem to have more qualities that don't. But I'm very confident of this because all these weird, strange, woke people, whatever you want to call them, they were more likely to take the shot. And it seems like the best and the strongest are going to survive, kind of like the Black Plague. The patriots are more likely to survive. The people with free thinkers are more likely to survive. That's the issue you got to talk about. And which is to say, because this makes me more confident than ever before, folks, this is going to really, really have a shakeup in every issue we have. I think if it's exposed what COVID really is, every other issue these politicians have been pushing, immigration, race, demographics, financial system, trade, the list goes on, the budgeting, you go down the line, LGBT, they're going to lose in every other issue. Climate change, I mean, who's going to believe it anymore? Who? These people have no future. It's game over. In a lot of aspects, we're seeing they're starting to lose. And all the other cultural trends that we've seen. The decline of the family. Do you think with these low population numbers declining, do you think we're going to see the rates of childbirth, marriage rates, especially when they get married, how people date? Do you think things are going to go on like this in the next several decades? No. We're going to see a return to tradition. The way we do transportation, the way we do urban planning, a lot of traditions, architecture, you go down the list, it's going to change. People are going to want something new. Our culture is going to change. Our way of life, the society we knew is not going to be the way it was in 2019, folks. It's like a movie. The ending was better, but it's not the same as the beginning. Okay? And I don't think this is going to be like the Titanic. Okay? I just don't really see that. I think a lot of us are too aware of these situations. They're just not going to be able to push this off. But it's really up to you that you spread this information. You make sure what's going on. Folks, these shots, this is going to be biblical. This is going to be very shocking. I can't even believe how people are so naive to let this happen, folks. It's only a matter of time that this is going to be like a complete mass chaotic event. And it's up to you to really get the word out. It's up to you to hold these people accountable. You have every right to be angry. I mean, sure, yeah, you got to manage it right, but you have every right to be upset. You have to let it out. This isn't like what they did was just some simple wrongdoing. No, this was just mass pain. This is mass chaos. And these suckers have been taking our money, wasting our time. And I know they're going to intimidate us. I know they're going to push us around, but we all have to come together. That's why I think we should organize some future events in the coming years. Absolutely. We have to start being open to free ideas. where people mention things. I know it sounds weird. I know it's a taboo, but we have to get out there. Because here's the thing, folks. When they censored us about the vaccines and the COVID thing and the election, and now it's going to be proven that we were right, well, then we're going to be right about every other issue, including race and gender. And yes, it's going to be safe to admit that, yeah, the races on average are different. And people are going to be more open to about it because every other thing that they've been censoring, it's going to fall like dominoes. It's going to fall like a house of cards. They're not going to be able to get away with it. And I think we're going to see growing separatist movements begin. And speaking of race, I think if this country is going to fall apart, man, first of all, I think a lot of Asians and Latinos are going to leave this country. And as far as blacks concerned, man, I heard their vaccination rates are about the same. They've been hurt disproportionately by the vax. Because like they say, never interfere with your enemy when they're destroying themselves. And I think that with the way they push these vaccines on them, it's likely their numbers are going to change a lot. I'm not going to lie to you. And they're going to get angry. They're going to get pissed off. These people, the blacks, they're more dependent on others than we are. There's going to be a lot of chaos, crime, riots are going to happen to the streets. And folks, I wouldn't be surprised. I mean, right now there's about 45 million of them. Their numbers are going to probably fall a lot. And that's not necessarily because of the jab. It's because of a lot of other internal struggles. Because who knows if they can have the welfare system to keep them afloat. They're less likely to be self-sufficient and so forth. They're more likely, from what I've heard, to be dependent on drugs. Think about it. They're less likely to have a stable family. And I think the ones that will remain, well, I think they're just going to have to, a lot of them are going to just have to build their own separate society somewhere around the South. I mean, heck, I'm not going to mention his name. He talked about, George Lincoln. I'm not going to fully give out his name. That he talked about putting them in reservations. And maybe something similar is like that going to happen. I don't know. In fact, speaking about people like myself, I heard Iran has a lower vaccination rate. I mean, who knows? Maybe that part of the world is going to be better. I saw the protests yesterday. Maybe it's going to be better to be there than it is here in the United States. And I can work on my heritage or whatever. It's going to be very interesting to see. And by the way, speaking of the jab, like I told you, the black countries had among the lowest vaccination rate. So I think you can see what this whole agenda is about, along with their high birth rates. They want to increase the number of them, but I don't know what's going on. All right, you guys let me know what you think. The woke is killing themselves. Yeah, they looted Buffalo with the 4-inch of snow, the rap culture, Detroit, Chirac, Milwaukee. I've been to a couple of those cities. Yeah. Would I date a jabbed woman? Folks, I don't even think I'm going to really get married anytime soon. The way things are, I don't think it's worth it because I'm 30 and I still have some time. I'm still able to attract women in their 20s, probably better in my 40s, so I don't know exactly what's the trend going to be. And I think by then, there's going to be a shortage of 40s men. So this is going to be kind of interesting. It's going to be very, very promising. Because I know that jabs are disproportionately affecting men, especially athletes. Yeah, all of California has become hell. Yeah, much of it, yeah. I wouldn't say that about South Orange County. Heck, you might say it's even better than Vegas. Parts of San Diego, Ventura County, Santa Barbara is still pretty decent. But a lot of it, I hear you, it's a mess. I mean, parts of Palm Springs area is not that bad. Yeah. All right, man. I'll see you guys. Spread the word.